You're listening to Strange by Nature, your guide to the strange, weird, unbelievable, and improbable wonders of the natural world.
Hello everyone, thanks for being here today. I am Kirk Mona and I am joined today by Rachel Ginza and Victoria Thompson. We are all professional naturalists who together have scoured the world for weird and wonderful wonders just to please your mammalian brain's desire for novelty. Isn't that nice? Let's do this.
Welcome back, everybody. So great to be here for another week. And we have someone special with us today, don't we, Rachel?
We do! I'm so excited. You want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name's Bobby Frankenberger, and I'm happy to be here.
Yay!
Now, Bobby is not some random person we pulled off the street, just to be perfectly clear, which would be fascinating to try sometime. But you've maybe heard Bobby's show. He's a podcaster. And I know our regular listeners are familiar with your show because we had your co-host on. Where are you from, Bobby?
Well, my co-host, Maura, was on your show, and she and I do a weekly science podcast called All Around Science. And we talk about science news every week, things that are going on in science news, or just whatever geeky science stuff that we find interesting or just is on our mind lately. We cover all kinds of things, just whatever, I'm sure you can relate to this. It's 100%. Just her and I love talking about science together, and we used to always do it anyway. And we thought, why don't we just start recording this, because maybe it'll take some of the pressure off of our spouses who have to listen to us.
To have to pretend to be interested.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel that.
That's what
Excellent.
I feel that.
Yeah, and there's going to be a little trailer for your show at the commercial break here, so people can hear a little bit more about that. But we're so excited to have you here. We've got, of course, 3 topics this week to share with all of you, our lovely listeners. I am the one kicking things off this week, and I'm going to be talking about some of the interactions between humans and other animals, because I find that really fascinating. As animals ourselves, I think we cannot help but react to other animals. We relate to them in maybe a way we don't relate to, I don't know, a rock or something. Although, to be fair, a lot of us, relate to rocks too.
I like rocks.
But there's something special about animals. And I mean, I know, as I'm saying, but do you feel like, do you watch YouTube videos about funny rocks?
I'm sure those exist.
They get up to?
Probably.
I started to say that, and I'm like, that probably exists, actually.
That sounds really fun. Is that not like the Playa Rock situation? The racetrack?
Funny, funny rock videos are trending on YouTube. But there are funny dog videos, funny cat videos, and people spend all this time just watching those and taking great joy in being around other animals, like things like horseback riding or bird watching. These are interactions we have with animals. And there's research out there too about how animals can be useful in therapy and in mood regulation, how even just petting a dog can really lower your heart rate and just make you feel better.
I mean, I always feel better after petting a dog.
Right. Researchers Matthew Rokolov and Nancy Greer were curious about one particular reaction people have to animals, and they came up with a pretty awesome way to test it out. It was so great, they won one of our favorite awards. That's right. They won the Ig Nobel Prize.
All right.
So congratulations to them. They won the 2017 Economics Prize. And yes, there are photos online of them at the ceremony, taking the rather silly Ig Nobel Prize about as seriously as they should. I should probably explain. They came both with stuffed crocodiles in their arms, and the humans were both dressed. They were dressed as Steve Irwin.
Yes.
The crocodile hunter.
Yes.
So you can tell that they were taking the award about as seriously as they should have.
Absolutely.
I'm just going to jump right in. I'm going to tell you the title of their research paper, because it is pure gold. It appeared in the Journal of Gambling Studies and was called Never smile at a crocodile. Betting on electronic gaming machines is intensified by reptile-induced arousal.
What?
Oh, I am intrigued.
I'm intrigued and so concerned. Why?
Well, you shouldn't be. You shouldn't be, Rachel. I thought it might have that reaction. I'm sure right off the bat, your mind probably went to all kinds of weird places, wondering what on earth this is all about. It likely has to do with that word arousal. I'm guessing, correct?
Uh-huh. Yeah, I never know where you go with these things, Kirk. So yeah, I'm a little nervous.
I think in general, some of us tend to think that word has a sexual connotation, but that would be sexual arousal. The word arousal just means a person is excited. Right?
Oh.
So I will be very clear, that's the context it is in this title.
Good.
It's a very family-friendly topic.
I was going to say something, but I didn't want it to get isolated, so I won't.
Yeah, what this research is all about. Well, this took place, where else but a place with lots of crocodiles?
Florida.
Australia. And
Well, okay.
not Florida, just Australia. In this case, it was Australia. The researchers actually went to a local gator park called the Kurana Saltwater Crocodile Farm in Coolangatta, Queensland, Australia.
Those are big gators. They're not gators, they're crocodiles. Whoa.
Yeah. And they did, what they did is they used a special gambling app. Okay. And this is a free app that was developed specifically for researchers to be able to use it in gambling studies. And what the researchers did is they selected people randomly. Some were interviewed just before entering the park as a control group, I imagine. And then others were contacted just after getting to hold a live crocodile at the end of the tour. And this is probably about a 1 meter long crocodile. It's like a juvenile, but it's got its mouth all taped shut so it can't bite you and stuff. But it's a pretty good sized crocodile for someone to hold who's never held one.
Crocodile, yeah. Yeah.
Probably exciting for people, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what they did, and the reason they have this is one of those parks that offers like a photo op at the end where you can get your picture taken with a croc at the end.
Yeah.
So and I don't mean the shoes. Maybe they had the shoes. I don't know, but you can hold the live crocodile. And they then had these people, just after they had that experience, they had them play some simulated gambling games on this like a iPad or something.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was basically like a version of like poker, like you'd find on some sort of video gambling machine, like a casino or in places that allow in bars and things like that.
Right.
Okay.
So it seems, from what I could tell from this research, they were also specifically looking for people who self-identified as having gambling problems. And then they wanted to see how those people gambled after holding the crocodile.
Huh.
And what they found, I think, is pretty cool. It actually changed their behavior. So those who had a positive experience holding onto the crocodile, who then went on to use the gambling machine, placed bids faster and in larger amounts than those people who had reported a negative experience holding onto the crocodile.
Okay.
Which is pretty cool. I guess if you have a good time holding a crocodile, you become a riskier gambler.
Well, I mean, it makes sense.
Out.
Yeah, I mean, the state of arousal
Explain why.
in general probably has something to do with that. I'm wondering, did they test any kind of baseline gambling behavior on these people before they, do we know if handling the crocodiles increased their gambling behavior or not? Like I get that they're comparing the two groups.
Right. Yep.
But within the group, I wonder if there was an increase or a decrease in either group.
Yeah, and from what I could tell, I don't think they actually had like the same people. They were comparing them against the control group and trying to do it that way.
Okay.
But it would be very interesting to look at the individuals as well, like have someone do it before and then go do the crocodile and then compare their
and to be fair, I guess that's probably why they chose a cohort of people who identify as gamblers, so that they could control as much of that as possible, so that the control group itself would be appropriately comparable to the test groups,
Yeah. It also,
and I think, I'm presenting this somewhat as like, an animal story. Really, it's they won the Ig Nobel Prize for economics. Really, they were studying gambling, not really necessarily studying crocodiles.
Sure.
Part of why I think they were looking at people who maybe were considered had like a gambling problem is they're looking at issues of like addiction and how, people are manipulated into having gambling addictions and problems like that.
right. And overall, it does make sense. Like, there's a couple different things that I could think of why they would choose that particular group too. They would know how to play. I feel like for the first part.
Yep, that's part of it.
That's true.
And then if they know how to play and they already are like gamblers, they know the risks that they're taking in general. So, I mean, that part makes a little more sense to me too. Also, this totally makes sense that if you hold a crocodile and you have a positive experience that you go on, it's like, I just held a crocodile. I am on top of the world. Of course.
I can do anything.
I can do anything. Versus like,
well, what's
I just
interesting
had the worst time ever.
Is they've tried to look at did people associate the way they gambled with holding the crocodile? Saying like, do you think that influenced you at all? And they're like, no, that didn't influence me at all.
Not.
So people, you're saying, it makes sense. But I think in the moment, people don't realize how their emotional state might be affecting their actions. Of course, I kind of hinted at this. This is really more of a study about gambling than it is about crocodiles. Because you go, okay, why do we really need a study? People are not out handling crocodiles and then gambling. What's the point of this? And the researchers admitted that this was a super contrived situation.
Sure.
What they really wanted to study was if someone being excited in any particular way changed their gambling habits. And according to the lead researcher, the area he lives in is really, really boring. And so he's like, what can we do that would be exciting? Like, how can we excite somebody? And I want to do the research here, where I live, but there's nothing exciting here,
Right.
And I guess it was his wife was like, well, what about the crocodile? The gator park? Like, couldn't you do something with crocs? And he's like, oh my gosh, yeah.
A super fun, novel experience.
But when I was in college, I went and got an experimental psychology degree. So we did experiments with students and with other people, and you try to recruit people to your study, and that's a challenge. Yeah. So I can totally see how this would be a sort of like almost a marketing ploy, like, hey, come in.
Yeah, we got people and we got Crocs.
Right.
Perfect. Let's do it.
Done.
But also this you say this was it was a gambling study or economic study.
Yeah.
But it's interesting the intersection of how we as humans do interact with animals. There's a whole area of study. I think it's called anthrozoology or something like that.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
That is all about that, and it's and there's things to learn about, even if it's something as simple as our interactions with animals have effects on our behavior. Even if it's that broad and simple, there's still stuff to learn there,
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they could have had people, posing for a photo with a monkey.
Sure.
Or, I mean, going and watch, but even like something like humans, like riding on a roller coaster or watching a comedian or, something that, gave them a positive experience. They just happened to choose crocodiles, which is, I mean, why not? And the researcher, I did read one thing where he said, it did cross my mind as I was choosing this. This might be a good candidate for the Ig Nobel Prize. So they kind of knew what they were doing going into it. And I will say, if anyone listening thinks that casinos don't already know about the connection between being excited and how much you will gamble, then you haven't been paying attention.
And you may not have ever walked through a casino before.
Right, exactly. Casinos go out of their way to create a overly stimulating, exciting environment, knowing the more excited you are, the more likely you are to place bigger bets and place them faster. That's why there's all the bells and whistles and music and scantily clad waitresses and exciting shows with fire eaters and magicians and musicians. And like the more stimulated and excited you are, the richer the casino gets because you're willing to take more risks. And I think that's really the most interesting thing here for me is gambling is essentially risk taking.
Mm-hmm.
And I find it interesting from an evolutionary standpoint that it must in some way be advantageous to take more risks when you are excited.
Right.
Like there's got to be an evolutionary pressure for that. And maybe it makes us better hunters. Like if you're really amped up and excited to catch a large animal, maybe you'll like take a little more risk and get there and be the one to be successful. Or maybe it makes us better at getting a mate, or at least getting to mate, taking a risk like that. The study wasn't really looking at that, but that's kind of what I'm intrigued about is, like why does that, behavior exist from an evolutionary standpoint? So maybe we have to do some more digging on this. I'm sure that has been researched, though probably not in such a fun way involving crocodiles. There's really not a whole lot more to this story this week. I just wanted to share this bizarre story of researchers having people gamble after being aroused by crocodiles because it's so super strange. If you want to learn more, you can read an article that the researchers themselves wrote and see a photo of them with their plushy crocs at theconversation.com. And I'm actually going to include a link to that in the show notes.
Oh, excellent. I'm so excited.
Great. Well, I'll tell you what, we're going to take a break. Let's hear a promo for Bobby's show. And when we come back, we'll hear from the man himself.
Hey, listener, are you the kind of person who's like curious about things? Like, do you ever just wonder how or why something is the way that it is? Like how are clouds made? I've got a podcast for you. It's called All Around Science. It's a weekly science podcast where me and my co-host Maura geek out about the interesting science-y things that we've been thinking and learning about. So I know you're curious about things. So are we. Let's be curious together. Listen to All Around Science where podcasts are listened to, or go to allaroundscience.com.
All right, we are back. And so I am excited.
I can't wait when guests come on. It's like they're diving into a whole different knowledge pool than the three of us. So it's like, it's like, what are they going to bring? It's always exciting.
So not too long ago here at my house, we got a pair of guinea pigs for our kids.
Oh,
fun.
All right.
I had guinea pigs growing up. Oh, they're so fun.
They're fantastic, cute animals. We have two kids, and they just love animals of all kinds. My older daughter, she's been saying for years she's going to be a zoologist when she grows up. And so we got sucked into this, small pet trap like a lot of poor, unsuspecting parents of elementary school children often do.
Yep.
You don't realize all the things that have to come with them. It's not just
oh my gosh, you have no idea. I mean, maybe you do.
I absolutely do. We had, I think at one point in time, so we bought one guinea pig, but it turned out she was pregnant and had three other guinea pigs. And at the time we had like 6 hamsters and 2 dogs. And
wow.
It was a really, really busy house.
Well, so the way we got into this, the way this happened was we not from their perspective, we volunteered to babysit the class guinea pigs over the summer.
That's how it happens. Yeah.
Yep. And so the kids immediately fell in love with them, and so we had to get some of our own. We got them from a guinea pig rescue place in Georgia. We live in South Carolina, so it's a bit of a drive, but our area was going through a sort of guinea pig shortage, and that's strange by itself.
Right?
That sentence right there.
Yeah.
Just, oh man.
All the breeders, apparently guinea pigs can get COVID, and that's what was happening. So,
oh wow.
Oh, I think I did hear that. Yeah.
Yeah. And so anyway, we got in touch in Georgia with this guinea pig rescue place, which was
also an amazing sentence I didn't think I'd hear today.
So good.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't know that guinea pig rescues exist. We love rescuing animals. Our dog is a rescue, and so we went and we got them. The place is fantastic. This is a lead up because I'm getting to the dramatic turn here.
Oh, so exciting.
It was fantastic. The place, they love their guinea pigs. They go to a huge effort to teach adopting families as much as they can about guinea pigs so that they can be really good caretakers of the animals. And so we learned a ton about guinea pigs. But one thing I learned, I did find very interesting, but was not expecting. And it's very strange and weird. It's that, because I didn't know this. And Rachel, it sounds like you probably did learn this. And that is that guinea pigs eat their own poop, and they do it on purpose.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Yes, they do.
Yep.
Lovely. Yep.
It's a fun time.
Yeah, it's a behavior called coprophagy, and there are a lot of animals that do this. Again, I didn't know this. I didn't know this was a thing. I assumed that much like humans, all animals would want to avoid their own feces.
Oh no!
But
Nope.
Apparently, it's very common with herbivores.
Especially like lagomorphs and like like hares.
So lagomorphs that's an interesting turn to this story, and I'm going to get to that in a minute. But so apparently it can be really hard to get nutrients out of the grass that you eat, right? And that's what guinea pigs eat primarily, is they're grazing animals. They graze on grass. And so guinea pigs have that interesting strategy for getting as much nutrients out of their grass as they can, which is they eat it twice.
Yep. Didn't get enough the first time.
Sure
try
do,
again.
Yep.
But it's really cool the way that all of that happens. They have a part of their intestines called the cecum, and they eat the grass. It goes up into the cecum, and there's a bunch of bacteria in there, and it ferments all of the grass and stuff that they've eaten in their intestines, and then it just hangs out in there for a while, and the bacteria produce a bunch of their own vitamins, and then because guinea pigs, like humans and like a lot of other animals in different ways, a lot of their vitamins, especially a lot of different B vitamins, they have to get from their diet. They can't make it on their own, and so the bacteria help to produce some of those B vitamins and K vitamins, and then so they poop it out. It's a different color. It's slightly lighter in color, and
the first time through, right?
Yeah. But not all of it does. It's only some of them. And guinea pigs, if you've ever owned a guinea pig, they poop a lot.
They poop so much, so much.
So you will eventually see this, and the reason that this guinea pig rescue place told us about it is because apparently they get a lot of phone calls or people thinking that there's something wrong with their guinea pigs. But there's nothing wrong with them. So another interesting thing. So we went down this deep dive with guinea pigs, learning as much as we could about them. And there's such interesting animals. First of all, guinea pigs, I don't know if you knew this, they were selectively bred by humans. They're not natural in the wild. Well, there are guinea pigs that are in the Andes, because that's where it came from, the Andes Mountains in South America. But they're a different breed. These ones, much like dogs, they were selectively bred to be useful to humans, primarily as food.
I was going to say, useful in a very particular way that we don't generally use them for.
Right. We don't, but they still do in certain areas in South America and other places. They still raise them.
Their dinner.
Yeah, and they a lot of families raise them as an alternative source of income, and for that purpose, to sell as food to restaurants and stuff like that. But this was a whole digression, that whole thing, because the point was I was talking more about the vitamins that they can't get on their own. Guinea pigs, this is makes them even more endearing to me. So guinea pigs can't synthesize their own vitamin C, just like humans can't. We can't make our own vitamin C. We have to get it from our diet.
They would not make good pirates.
That's what I'm saying. So that's the first place that my brain went was,
oh, good.
That means that guinea pigs can get scurvy.
You're right.
That's the first thing I thought of. Yeah,
I think they would.
Yep, they can be scurvy dogs.
They're scurvy pigs.
They'd be scurvy pigs. Yeah.
Ooh,
right. Scurvy pig dogs.
Oh, amazing.
So, I can totally see a pirate saying, "Are you scurvy pig dogs?"
Yeah,
there's
no
the pirate
kidding.
accent.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of how a guinea pig. It has a very distinctive weak sound, like week week. that it makes. I'm trying to think of how it would do that as a pirate, but I can't quite wrap
Just
my
gets
head
a little
around it.
gravelier.
Wait. So they eat a lot of hay. We talked about that. One of the other reasons they eat a lot of hay is that they're like many small animals, or rodents and rabbits and hamsters and whatnot. They their teeth are always growing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they need to chew on things to keep them worn down so that they don't, become a problem. Their teeth growing oversized and everything. And apparently guinea pigs, if they don't get enough hay, a symptom of the fact that they're not getting enough hay is that they will start, because they've got to take care of this problem. They'll start chewing on each other's hair.
Oh dear.
Yeah. so they're doing whatever they can to make
That's
sure.
one way to do it.
Yeah.
I guess.
Rachel, you mentioned lagomorphs, right?
Yes, I did.
Yeah. So lagomorphs are this type of animal that they when they're digesting their food, they sort of separate it into two places, right?
Mm-hmm.
You've got the food that you eat that goes into the large intestines and just makes its way through like other animals do. It just goes straight through the large intestines and then comes out the other side without a problem.
Mm-hmm.
And then lagomorphs, they also divert some of it up to, as we mentioned already, the cecum to get some extra processing done. Did you know, this is very recent, that there's recently a debate about whether guinea pigs are actually lagomorphs or not?
Ooh.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I mean, if hares are, and I think rabbits are too, if they are, and they have growing teeth and everything as well that are similar to rodents and they're lagomorphs, I could see guinea pigs being lagomorphs.
Well, the turn lately is that many experts think that they're not lagomorphs.
What?
Because it's been thought that for a long time.
So you got Rachel all excited now, and like,
Oh.
but no.
So let me explain. It's still debated. So this is not decided yet. But the reasoning being that lagomorphs, a characteristic of a lagomorph is that it uses the cecum to create those extra different feces droppings that they redigest. They're called cecotropes, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the special poop pellet that they have that they eat again. It's called a cecotrope, but it's made in a very specific way. In a rabbit, the large fibers that they eat go straight through the intestines, but the way that the intestines are constructed, physiologically and everything with the ridges inside the large intestine, smaller fibers get redirected to the cecum, spend some time in there, and then usually like once a day. With rabbits, it's often in the morning. They will all the stuff that's built up in the cecum will get like an express pass to the anus, and then all of it comes out.
Well, then. Yeah.
And then they dine on that, and that's their morning. That's their breakfast.
What a breakfast!
So that's a lagomorph, right? But it does that. But the thing with a guinea pig is that their cecums are very large. It's like 65% of their GI tract.
Whoa.
Yeah, which is unusual for these types of animals, and so they don't actually have a distinct way of separating some of the stuff that, like, it's just some of it happens to go up and some of it happens to not, and there's no distinct time that it comes out. It's just all kind of mixed in together, and they don't do it in the same way. So some experts are saying that they don't think that guinea pigs qualify as lagomorphs because of that.
Huh.
Well, as we are fond of saying on this show, nature laughs at our little boxes. Like, we want to put everything in little boxes, and it doesn't work. Always work.
Yeah.
I'm going to consider them lagomorphs.
You know what,
Rachel?
I love the word lagomorph, so the more opportunity that I get to use it, then
exactly.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's the name of my punk band, actually.
the lagomorphs.
It's not, but it could be. Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that's guinea pigs, and I've got like way more facts than that And
fabulous.
and I could talk about guinea pigs for a long time. But
start a guinea pig podcast.
No kidding.
Yeah.
I should get my kids to start a guinea pig podcast. They would.
Ooh,
There
they
you
would
go.
love that.
They would love that. But yeah, I thought I thought I knew about, that I thought they're just like hamsters or something like that. So
Right,
I was
right.
very surprised
Mhm.
to find out how different and interesting and weird they can be. And I just loved learning about them. So I thought I'd share it with you guys.
Oh, thank you, Bobby.
Thank you. I have a special guinea pig story.
Oh, I want to hear it.
But you're going to hear it, but I will say we're going to save it for our patrons. So there's a good plug to say, if you're not a patron yet, if you haven't joined the Society of Strange, go ahead and head over to patreon.com.
Then I got to share my
you
guinea pig
too.
story.
Oh, you can hear. Oh, we're going to share some guinea pig stories in the bonus material for our
I'll give you the rest of my facts too.
Yeah, so look forward to that. But for the rest of you who aren't patrons yet, I guess you'll just have to wait, and it'll be there waiting for you once you become a patron. But we'll take a break, and when we come back, Rachel, it'll be your turn.
Welcome back, everybody. So I'm going to end our episode with a little bit. I found this wild, and this ties in well, Bobby. You might have heard about this because this just broke the news end of March.
Ooh,
so
great.
So we all know scientists study things. That's what scientists do.
That's
well
true.
spotted.
Thank you. One field that's probably like within the natural world that's probably most well studied and is generally we have found most of the species that exist on the planet is the plant field, the botany field, right? Because logistically it's easier because for the most part plants don't move.
Right?
Yeah.
You find them, you can study them there. And just because we've been studying the plants for so long doesn't necessarily mean that we've learned everything there is to know about plants. There's still things that we are learning about plants, all the time.
Absolutely.
So
We've talked about a bunch on this show. There's some bizarre things.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. So in a recent study that was published on March 30th in 2023, so not that long ago, it was in Cell was what it was published in. Is the paper or whatever. The journal.
The journal.
There it is. Scientists over at Tel Aviv University have shown that plants actually emit airborne sounds.
Wow. Yeah, I think I did read. I think I remember
something
seeing this
about this,
headline. I didn't really dig deep, so I'm excited to hear what you have to say.
Yeah.
I mean, I've heard quaking aspen emit sounds, but I'm guessing that's not what you're talking about.
No, the plant itself is actually creating the sound, which is wild.
Are they screaming when we trim them, Rachel? Is this what we're going to come down to?
I mean, they did tests for that. We'll get into it. So
oh boy. All right.
So
Here we go.
it's not just like any sounds. Like scientists have been studying whether plants can hear, and they have been able to say that they are able to respond to different types of touch or smell or pheromones and things throughout.
Sure.
How people study plants anyway. But when studying whether plants can hear or like produce any sort of sound before, a lot of times the equipment was already attached to the plant. So it caused a little bit like, the plant was probably using part of the equipment. So what these scientists did was they actually put ultrasonic microphones next to the plant, making sure that it didn't touch at all. And they did various stimuli to the plants themselves. So there was the control of where they did nothing. There was a plant where they did do a little bit of a cutting on like the stem.
Okay.
And then there was one that they allowed to dehydrate.
Mm.
And these plants made different, distinct sounds under those different stressors. They made ultrasonic clicking.
Huh.
To the point where they were able to create, they used a machine learning system and AI to see if they could differentiate the different sounds that the plants were making. And they weren't just using one species. They were using mostly tomato and tobacco plants. But they were able to see, but the machine was able to learn not only what the different sounds meant, but were able to differentiate between plants themselves. So they could tell, like, oh, this tobacco plant is dehydrated, or this tomato plant is injured, or this one is hydrated and just fine.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
So that's the crazy thing. And they've been able to, it sounds a lot like little popping clicks.
Yeah.
Okay.
And because the scientists were able to take the noise and like condense it into human hearing range, because it's an ultrasonic range.
Right.
Sure.
But they also were able to find out while they were doing this, they did this in a greenhouse, they did this in various scenarios to make sure that the plant was actually making the sound. It wasn't just other things happening. So they did, they recorded in an acoustic chamber, they recorded in a greenhouse. They did a couple different variables to see if it was the plant themselves. And then they were able to use that machine learning, that AI, and the AI was able to differentiate both times, which was crazy. But the ones in the greenhouse, the ultrasonic microphones picked up other plants as well. So it wasn't just the tomato and the tobacco plants. It picked up corn. It picked up Cabernet Sauvignon grapevines, picked up wheat plants. It even picked up pincushion cactus making similar noises.
Wow. Under the same conditions?
Under similar conditions, yeah.
Wow. That's
so
interesting.
Like, it's wild to me because, like, we hear plants all the time. We hear their leaves rustling. We hear lots of things happening with plants in the first place. But we don't really think about them making their own noise, you know? They're pretty much, we expect them to be silent. And under stress, they do respond with noise, which is so crazy. Because that also means potentially that there are, and this is what they're actually going on to study, they're trying to see if animals who can hear in the ultrasonic range actually if they can hear the sounds from the plants, and if it corresponds at all, like moths or mice, see if they can hear those noises and respond to the plant stress. So
right.
Oh, crazy.
Yeah, because that's one of the first things
I advantage.
Yeah, that's exactly. That's what I was wondering is this some sort of adaptive behavior, or is it just by virtue of something that's going on? You know, you mentioned dehydration.
Physiological response.
Is there something happening to the tissue that is just causing the sound to happen, and it just so happens to be in the ultrasonic range, or is there is this an adaptive behavior? That would be really interesting to find out.
Yeah. From what I can tell, it is something within the plant, like some tissues that are creating the sound. But the thing is like it's a consistent type of sound that's distinct within it's a distinctive type of sound. So I think it is partly to do with that potentially, but I also think that because it happened with multiple different plants, and I think it happened to like they tested this multiple times with the plants themselves too. that is not just the plant just happens to make the sound. It seems like they make that very distinct sound for some reason.
Yeah, and even if it's some sort of sound that is just a byproduct of what's going on on the tissue level, that doesn't mean that it's not adaptive. That doesn't mean that it doesn't benefit them.
Exactly.
So, like, maybe I have a hard time thinking that plants are intentionally, crying out for help, but that doesn't mean that the end result isn't that they somehow benefit from whatever sounds are resulting from that condition that they're in,
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah, because like we don't.
Or it could also be that it's just a quirk and it means nothing, those are the things that'll need to be figured out now.
I know, which is super exciting that it even is a possibility. I saw this article and I was just like, I need to talk about this with people.
Absolutely.
And that's funny that you say that, Kirk, that it just might be nothing, because I think we have this bias as people when we look at especially evolved behaviors.
I know exactly where you're going with this.
or evolved like physiology or something like that.
That it has to have some sort of purpose behind it.
Exactly, and it doesn't. Even stuff that has a distinct like feature that you can see and are familiar with. That doesn't mean that it was, that it got there for any particular reason, right?
Exactly.
And it might not even
a gene that was next to another gene that was selected for another purpose, and it just
and it might not even be the best way to get done what that gene does. It just is. It just happens to be that it happened that way. So that's coincidences abound in nature.
Oh, absolutely. Little boxes, nature laughs at us.
Yeah, I like that.
If you want to know more here or read more, which I recommend because it's an open source journal, you can read more on. The title is "Sounds Emitted by Plants Under Stress Are Airborne and Informative." It's in the Cell journal. It's cell.com, and it's I would try so hard to pronounce these names for these authors. I'm not going to. It's not because I don't want to. It's because I don't want to just butcher their names so badly.
Because they might not want you to.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're going to try to respect them by not saying their names.
Exactly. So that was like my main source.
Well,
for
people
this
can
week.
go check out the article and learn their names.
Oh yeah. So that's all I have for this week. I think that's just about it. Is there anything you would like to plug, Bobby?
Other than my podcast that I do, All Around Science with Maura every week, we cover all sorts of things. We just recently, what did we just recently talk about? I don't even remember. It was really interesting.
Fabulous.
We had a whole show about here we go. We talked about the appeal to nature fallacy.
Oh wow, yeah.
The whole idea that natural, that natural equals good
is better.
Yeah. And we talked about that, and
that one drives me crazy. Here, eat this arsenic.
Yeah, exactly. I think I used arsenic as the counter example in that podcast. So. So check that out. It's
natural, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's All Around Science, and you can find it on podcast places.
Excellent.
Don't eat arsenic, children.
Please don't. All right. Well, thanks
everybody. Have a good night.
Listening. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thanks everyone for listening to today's show. Be sure to subscribe. New episodes drop every Wednesday, and we love sharing this strange world with all of our listeners. If you would be so kind as to leave us a 5-star review, that would be great. It lets other lovers of the strange discover the show. You can reach out to us on social media by searching for Strange by Nature Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. You can send us an email as well. Our address is contact@strangebynaturepodcast.com. If you want more information about the show, you can also check out our website, which is strangebynaturepodcast.com. Until next week, get outside, stay curious, and embrace the strange.